Do you ever reminisce about the old Honda station wagons? We had the Civic wagon, the Civic 4-wheel drive wagon, later we had the Accord wagons. By the late 90s though, wagons were out and SUVs were the new hot ticket item, and everyone's been missing station wagons ever since. In the late 2000s though, Honda decided to bring back the Accord wagon, but this time call it a crossover because that was the new buzzword of the 2000s, and they tried something similar with their Acura product line as well. And while an all-wheel drive Accord and a 300 horsepower Acura station wagon both do sound pretty cool on paper, neither one was really able to ever gain a foothold and were both discontinued after just one generation. Maybe it was just the marketing.
It's not really an SUV or a car or a truck.
Or maybe the excessively sloped roof lines that cut into usable cargo space. I mean, come on, is this a tailgate window or a moonroof? So were these discontinued for good reason, or are we missing out? Let's take a look back at these two forgotten crossovers and find out. Originally marketed as the Accord Crosstour, this little crossover went on sale in late 2009 for the 2010 model year. As the name suggests, it's built on the 8th generation Accord platform, but unlike previous Accord wagons that had very little if any chassis differences over their sedan counterparts, the Crosstour sits on a beefed up Accord suspension with an available all-wheel drive powertrain. Like the Accord sedan, the Crosstour uses a double wishbone setup up front and multi-link suspension in rear, but the Crosstour suspension is enhanced with internal rebound springs for the front shock absorbers and Crosstour specific tuned spring rates and stabilizer bars. Under the hood, the Crosstour is powered by a J-Series V6, shared with the Accord V6 models and the 2nd generation Acura RDX. It uses Honda's intelligent VTEC system and makes 271 horsepower. It also uses Honda's variable cylinder management system, which can deactivate 2 or 3 cylinders under certain driving conditions in order to save fuel and to foul up your spark plugs. Trim levels were EX and EXL. Over EX, the EXL trim adds leather interior with heated seats, larger 18-inch wheels, memory seats, and an upgraded sound system. Navigation and real-time all-wheel drive were further available options on the EXL. The real-time all-wheel drive system is borrowed from the CR-V, and a fully optioned out all-wheel drive EXL Accord Crosstour is essentially a V6 all-wheel drive Accord wagon with a beefed up suspension and a little extra ground clearance. So what's not to love about that? Well, those looking for a real wagon may protest that the excessively sloped cargo hatch cuts into otherwise usable cargo space, and vision is less than stellar unless you want to lie in the back and watch cloud formations, especially if you compare them to the previous Accord wagons, which were basically solariums. But that's where this new crossover category comes into play. You see, in the 2000s, manufacturers were really trying to get away from boxy wagons and SUVs, because boxy styling in general was just seen as ugly. Everything had to be rounded and sloped and curved now. Trading in functionality for aesthetics as the crossover vehicle category desperately tried to distance themselves from the wagons as they tried to act cool and pretend they're not the same thing, just harder to see out of. Hey Crosstour, we found your high school yearbook photo. What? Oh no, that's not me. I would never have so many right angles. Let's look at the Crosstour styling in a little bit more detail. While the front does resemble the Accord a little bit, it actually does have its own front fascia. The grille, bumper, and even the headlight assemblies are all a little different. The rear end, of course, is unique, and the excessively sloped tailgate and relatively small triangular quarter windows say hatchback louder than they do wagon. I have to say though, if they were trying to make this look cooler and sportier than a traditional wagon, they failed. The rear end doesn't look too streamlined at all in my opinion, it just looks kind of bloated. I really think a more traditional square-shaped tailgate would have actually looked better, and it certainly would have increased usable cargo space, and you might have even been able to see out of it. The Crosstour's main competitor was the Camry-based Toyota Venza, which is essentially Toyota doing the same thing, bringing back a wagon body style to the Camry lineup without actually calling it a wagon. Although Toyota wasn't so keen on the new crossover buzzword, so they didn't call it that either. They just kind of called it an optimized Camry, or 30% car and 70% SUV. Great marketing, Toyota. Real memorable. Station wagon really was a forbidden word in the 2000s. No, I'm not building a station wagon. I'm not building a wagon either. This isn't a wagon. It's a CUV, it's a crossover, compact utility vehicle. It's 70% SUV, 30% crosstour.
That doesn't make any sense.
The interior is very similar to the Accord as expected, with the main difference being a modified gauge cluster with these very eye-catching blue gauge needles. I do think this cluster looks a little better than the standard Accord cluster. The cargo area features a reversible floor, carpeting on one side and rubber on the other, other for those days when you need to haul something wet or messy. The spare tire is mounted under the chassis, and the added space is utilized with a plastic storage container that can even be removed and washed, making it perfect for a little waterproof storage area, reminiscent of what the first two CR-V generations had. No picnic table here though. The 60/40 folding rear seats fold down nearly flat, but the aforementioned sloped roofline and the intrusive rear strut towers do cut into a lot of space that could have been better utilized. But if it was more practical, it would have looked more like one of these dreaded station wagons, and we can't have that. Hey guys, check out my new Honda. It's called the Accord Crosstour. Oh cool, they brought the Accord wagon back. Wagon? No, this isn't a wagon, it's a crossover. I'm young and hip. What's a crossover? It's a cross between a car and an SUV. So, a wagon then? No, a crossover! I'm young and hip! Hey guys, check out my new Toyota. It's called the Venza. Oh cool, they brought the Camry wagon back. Wagon? Hell no, this ain't no station wagon. I'm cooler than that. That's right, you tell them. We're driving crossovers. Crossover? No, this is just 30% car, 70% SUV. So, a wagon then? For the 2012 model year, Honda decided to drop the Accord prefix from the name and call the model simply the Crosstour. Perhaps this was to further discourage people from looking at it as merely an Accord wagon. The 2013 model year brought a refresh. The front end was tweaked and the new grille made it more closely resemble the new 9th Gen Accord front end, and it got the new 9th Gen Accord powertrain as well. The engine was now the J35Y1 V6, which bumped power up slightly to 278, and the new 6-speed automatic transmission replaced the previous 5-speed. The rear bumper was updated and now contained the rear reflectors. The interior was updated, with many of the radio controls replaced by a touchscreen, and more dark wood grain was added in an attempt to further upscale the interior. They also added a 4-cylinder engine option in front-wheel drive only. The 4-cylinder engine was the K24Y2, a 2.4-liter K-series which made 192 horsepower. Despite the update, sales remained slow and were on a downward trend, and as such Honda ended production of the Crosstour on August 31st, 2015. But why didn't the Crosstour take off? It's actually a pretty good car. Were people just that opposed to station wagons? Or maybe their attempt to distance the Crosstour from a wagon backfired? Because let's be real, it's not the best looking car either way, and I almost think they should have just gone all out wagon. Give me some right angles on that hatch. I'll take the better vision and extra cargo space over a 45-degree sloped hatch just so it can fit in with some new age crossover category. I mean, what's even the point of a window like this? I don't want a wagon that's pretending to be cool, I want a wagon. If I don't want a wagon, I'm not buying a wagon. And probably not a Crosstour either. Meet the ZDX, or as my American friends would say, the ZDX, the original ZDX. The one that's actually a Honda product, not a Cadillac Lyric in an Acura suit. Released in late 2009 for the 2010 model year, this model was Acura's attempt at cracking the crossover market. At first glance, it may appear that the ZDX is simply an Acura version of the Crosstour, but it's actually not. It shares virtually nothing chassis-wise with the Crosstour and is instead built on the MDX platform. So I guess this one is more like 90% SUV, 10% car, I don't know.
It's not really an SUV or a car or a truck.
The engine shared with the MDX is a 300 horsepower 3.7 liter V6 paired to a 6-speed automatic with paddle shifters. Unlike the Crosstour where all-wheel drive is optional, all ZDX models come standard with Acura's super handling all-wheel drive system. 0 to 60 is about 6.5 seconds. Suspension on the ZDX is McPherson strut up front and multi-link trailering arms in the rear. The exterior styling, well, I wish they'd stayed a little closer to the concept version, which actually looked pretty cool. The production version is kinda just bland early 2010s Acura. The lights do have a more pointy and aggressive shape than on other Acura models, but the corporate grille and standard Acura fog light bezels prevent it from looking anything too unique on the front. The rear is of course more unique, but even then, the tail lights still remind me of MDX lights, just ones that someone sat on. And oh boy, if you thought the Crosstour had a sloped hatch, look at this thing. They didn't even have room for quarter windows in this one, so they moved the rear door handles up to an unconventional location to distract you from the lack of windows. You could almost count this tailgate glass as a moonroof, but if you don't, there are two more of them that occupy most of the roof. So while you may not be able to see anything behind you, you've got a great view of the sky. One might think that with such a sloped roofline, rear seat headroom would be an issue, but MotorWeek said in their road test video that their 6-foot staff members found the rear seats livable. Not exactly the highest praise you would hope for in a crossover segment, but I guess it's better than not livable. Since the ZDX isn't built on a chassis that was meant for a sedan, the rear suspension components don't protrude into the trunk, creating a narrow cargo passage as much as they do on the Crosstour. So seats down cargo room is actually more on the ZDX than it is on the Crosstour, although only by a few cubic feet. The spare is again mounted beneath the chassis, so we have another large covered storage compartment, albeit this one is neither removable nor waterproof. Gas struts, however, do ensure that you need not hold the lid open yourself while loading and unloading cargo. You are an Acura owner after all, not some common middle-class peasant. No need for the rubberized floor or waterproof storage anyways. You're much too affluent to get your hands dirty transporting stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff your hired help transports for you. In their Crosstours.
Is it a car or is it an SUV?
The interior is fairly luxurious, with standard heated leather seats, and the dash is often compared to the MDX dash since they share a chassis, but it's actually more similar to the TL dash, especially the gauge clusters, which are pretty much borrowed straight from the TL, with these little circles that contain most of the warning lights in the center of the tach and speedo. For added premium feels, the crispy backlight radio controls softly come to light only when the radio power is turned on. Like many Acuras of this era, there is only one trim level, but two different option packages add a wide variety of upgrades. Some of the highlights in my opinion are a tri-zone solar sensing automatic climate control system in the technology package, and ventilated seats with upgraded leather and LED illuminated door handles in the advanced package. Solar sensing is a feature I've talked about on the channel before. It's where solar sensors can detect if one side of the cabin is in shade and one side in sunlight, and then direct a little more cool air to the sunny side and vice versa. There's also a bunch of driver's assist features that each package adds. I'll put up on screen a full list of what each package includes if you're interested. Hey Shannon, check out my new Acura crossover. It's got tri-zone solar sensing automatic climate control. I may not be able to see anything, but damn if I ain't comfortable. I'm sitting here at the exact optimum temperature. Hey, what's the problem, man? It's not just me sitting here, traffic isn't moving. Who's behind me anyway? I better shift into reverse so I can see. Oh. Well, that makes sense. Now, I've read a lot of different polarizing reviews about the ZDX. Some people love it, some people hate it. I don't think it's a bad car overall, but I do think it has trouble finding a market.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that it's a little bit uncategorizable.
Whatever market the ZDX was intended for, it definitely didn't quite reach it. The ZDX sold very poorly. In fact, total North American production numbers are so low at 6,119 for the US and just 1,072 for Canada. This is actually the rarest Acura model in North America. Now, yes, there are certain model trim levels or model years that have lower production numbers, like a 2003 3.2 CL Type S manual, for example, but when it comes to total production numbers for a nameplate, the first gen ZDX is the lowest. I'm not 100% sure why it sold so poorly. I think maybe it just couldn't find its market, maybe the styling was a little too polarizing, and also keep in mind that it was sold at the same time as the TSX wagon, and there's no question that me and probably a lot of other people would rather have that. By 2013, in response to low sales, Acura cut the option packages, and available features like blind spot monitoring, collision mitigation, and adaptive cruise control were replaced with simpler systems, forward collision warning and lane departure warning, which now came standard. Integrated parking sensors and power folding auto-dimming side view mirrors were also added as standard equipment, and Acura was able to lower the retail price slightly. The 2013 grille was also updated to more closely match the new corporate grille on the RDX, but good luck finding a ZDX with that grille because they only sold 442 of them. The ZDX was discontinued after the 2013 model year, and we wouldn't hear of that nameplate again until Acura resurrected it to sell a GM playing dress up as an Acura to unsuspecting consumers who haven't done their research. It's always a little awkward when customers tell me they bought a ZDX or Prologue as their first EV because they wanted to wait for a Honda EV. Right. About that.